What is up, guys? Team Feels here, back with another video, and today it's going to be a little different. We're not just doing a deck profile. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play this deck. Now, you're looking at your screen going, wow, I just see Dogmatica engine cards so far. Well, this deck is super spicy. I actually saw it from an OCG tournament list, and I kind of altered it, made it my own, made it able to match the TCG, the current card pool ban list, etc., etc. And I have formatted this into my own build. What I think is pretty neat. The way that this deck plays is very strange because it seems like it shouldn't work, but it does. So there's not much of an explanation as to why I went with this deck, other than the fact that it just looks super cool, and its play style is very odd. But I think that's just the engines that are mixed together. And this deck, I don't even know the competitive viability of it yet. I'm gonna have to take this to like a locals at some point and try it out, because I have no idea where this deck can go. I don't know how high the ceiling is. All I know is that I'm having a blast testing this deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and showcase this to you guys, because I think this is pretty cool. You're gonna look at this deck profile and think that I'm crazy, but when I show you like the way that you play the deck, it'll definitely make a lot more sense. But it's so weird, but I love it. Anyways, hopping into the monster count, we play Triple Ecclesia. Triple Ecclesia is very integral in this deck. You want to be able to see it because this deck does not require a normal summon, which is very important, because then you can always just normal summon your Ecclesia, which I think is crazy cool. You know, you don't even have to worry about other cards taking up your normal summon if you don't need them to. And even if you do another normal summon, then you still have the Ecclesia that can be possibly special summoned. That, however, is the only Dogmatica monsters that we play. We don't play any Maximus or any Flordelis, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. I know, trust me, the deck profile gets better. The next card that we play is 3 Lopter, Shadow of the Generator Bosses. Yes, we are playing Generator Dogmatica. This deck is absolutely nuts. I am thoroughly enjoying this deck so far. It's literally just boss monsters and a Dogmatica engine, which is crazy. Your Lopter essentially gets you 2 other generator monsters in your deck, which is pretty important. And the fact that it is a quick effect is also really cool too. Then for our other big boss generator monsters, we play 2 Har, 1 Mardell, 1 Nidhogg, 1 Utgarda, and 1 Hela, which is basically your Call of the Haunted. So Hela's Call of the Haunted. Utgarda is kind of like a banish, like a Karma Cut. Nidhogg is like a Solemn Warning. Mardell is like a Rhoda for your spells and traps. And then Har is kind of like a Solemn Judgment. Which is pretty important. Those are all very, very important to the way that the deck functions. Moving on to some hand traps, though. Triple Ash and Triple Veiler. This is nothing out of the ordinary. I did not want to play Gamma. I didn't want to play Nibiru either. I didn't think that they were completely necessary in this deck. But it's you can if you want to. If you want to swap hand traps out, by all means, go for it. Those are all the monsters, though. Moving on to the spells, we have 3 Boss Stage and basically a 4th copy of Boss Stage, and that of Terraforming. So Boss Stage, basically when your opponent draws a card or like searches a card or whatever, you get to special summon a generator monster from your deck. And then when a generator monster is summoned from your deck like that, you get to then fill your field with as many generator tokens as possible. They're all in attack position. They all have 1500 attack and defense, which is pretty cool. And the generator tokens are so important because all of your generator monsters have effects that tribute generator monsters on the field for their card effects. So you can just tribute the tokens as the cost for that, which is really, really cool. Super broken field spell. Then we play 3 Nadir Servant. That way we can get to our Ecclesias. It's not complicated to understand this. This is probably the most self-explanatory card out of the Dogmatica engine. Then I play Triple Extravagance. So your extra deck is definitely a resource rather than a utilization. It's not a tool. It's something that you are just using as a resource to not only get your Nadir Servant to resolve, but your Extravagance, so on and so forth. And it's just a really, really good card to have because you don't use your extra deck excessively. Then I play Triple Tactics Talent. This card is super broken in this deck because if your opponent decides that they want to hit you with a Gamma, a Valor, an Ash, something along the lines of that, then you are definitely going to be in luck because you're going to get to draw some more cards, which is pretty sweet. Or strip their hand, whatever works for you. Then I play 2 Monstrosity. This card is super, super crazy. If you open this in Lopter, you basically get a VFD, which is nuts. Super, super nuts. I really like the card. Then the trap cards, we have 3 Dogmatic of Punishment. Considering we're playing the 3 Ecclesia, this should make sense. I don't see why it wouldn't. But, I mean, the fact that you don't need your extra deck and you can just pop your opponent's cards is pretty crazy. Once again, the extra deck is just a resource for you to dive into and strip apart. Then 3 Imperm for the other hand traps. So we play 9 hand traps. I believe this list is actually 42 or 43 cards. I'm not even going to lie. I am playing more cards than I normally do. I really like playing more cards, though, in this deck. So I'm perfectly okay with that. Then I play 3 Ice Dragon's Prison. This card is ridiculously broken in basically every single meta that's probably going to go on from here on out. This card just does everything that you could possibly want a trap card to do and more. Being able to basically just banish cards off the field and graveyard from your opponent is ridiculous. And then I opted to play 1 Trap Trick. I just wanted to play the Trap Trick because I thought it was really good. It was either this or Metaverse, and I thought Trap Trick was better just for the purpose of disruption, which I think is a lot more important. That is the main deck, though. Moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck is kind of interesting, but I will definitely explain as I progress through it. We have 3 Entis. This should be fairly obvious considering the extravagance and the punishments. That should make a whole lot of sense. 2 Ash Dragon. Don't think you need 3. 2 is fine. You can definitely make that work. It's not that difficult. Then I play the Shadal cards, which you will see how they are utilized as we progress through the profile and the video itself. You'll definitely get a better understanding of it. So the Shadal engine is there, which is very, very important. Then the Xyz, 3 Calamities. You just play 3 because of the extravagance. I think it's just kind of necessary. And why not try and make multiple? That's always fun. Then I opted to play 1 of the Enterblathner, and then I play 1 Zeus. So if you either get down to like you detach your last material off of True King, because you're probably not going to OTK your opponent with this deck, if I'm being realistic. But if you get down to the last material and you've detached it, and then you attack, and then main phase 2 you can, or if you just attack and you have 1 material, it's what you would do. You'd stack it on top, so then you can use the Zeus. Or if you do your Enter Blathnir and then you attack with it, and then main phase 2 you overlay. So Zeus does have utilization. It does not come up a lot, though. Just keep that in mind. It's there for utilization. It does not come up excessively. Your extra deck, as I have mentioned already in the profile, is just a resource, but there are times where you will utilize it. 1 Omega and 1 BLS. So the Omega is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to explain this because if you've seen any Dogmatica profile, you'll understand why. As far as the BLS, all of the generator monsters are like level 9. So what you do is you can use those and maybe like an Ecclesia or something, and you can just link them away into a BLS. And because you use monsters that are above the level 7 mark here that you can see, he cannot be targeted with card effects, which is super crazy. Card is ridiculously broken in this deck. Super, super strong. But that is the extra deck. As I mentioned, it is definitely there more so as a resource than anything else, but you can obviously utilize it for different things in addition to that. Moving on to the side deck, though, we have 3 DD Crow, one of the best hand traps that is being side decked at the moment. Some people are starting to main deck it, which isn't a bad idea. In addition to that, I'm not playing these, but I'm just going to show them. Skullmeisters are another one. If you don't have 3 Skullmeister, I would probably pick a set up because it's growing in popularity, and it'll definitely be something that's kind of a mainstay for a little while, considering how graveyard reliant our format is. But DD Crow is just a ridiculously strong card in that respect. Then we have 1 Dino Wrestler, Pankratops. Pankratops, and I say this almost every single time in my side deck, if you keep up with my profiles, you know that I love Pankratops. It's very rare that I can't fit Pankratops into my side deck or main deck. this card is just crazy. I don't like alpha. Honestly, I think that alpha is very subpar. You will never catch me playing alpha, to be perfectly honest. I don't like the card. It's just not that good. Then we have one Maximus and one Schism. This is the reason that we are playing the Shadal engine, because you can, if you know you're going first, you side deck these in, and then you can just go ahead and make all this work for you. And you basically use your Nadir Servant to search your Maximus or your Ecclesia, and then the Ecclesia searches the Maximus. You play it by banishing the Opcolone. This would be engrave, and then you can send a Construct and an Ash Dragon, and then you get to add this back off the Construct, and then you have room to make a Winda, which is pretty crazy, if I'm being honest. So that's a really cool engine. I like playing that. Then also, if I know I'm going first, I'll play Triple Judgment. I think that this card is super good going first. If you want to play strikes, you can play strikes, but I like Judgment because I know my deck is going to probably be dealing against like evenly matched Lightning Storm, stuff like that, considering it is kind of back row heavy, honestly, for the most part. But then we have 3 Dark Ruler no more. Got to be able to shut off those boards. Best part is you don't have to worry about the Buster Lock because your deck does not require the extra deck. You basically just set up your plays and you go from there, which is really sweet. Then 2 Cosmic and 1 Feather Duster. I don't think that this needs an excessive amount of explanation. It's back row removal. Well, what else is there to explain? Just get rid of the back row and keep playing the game. But that is the entirety of the side deck, which basically wraps up the deck profile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and kind of do a couple test hands just to explain how the deck runs. If there are bad test hands, I'm just going to reshuffle them back in and show you guys. It's more so I don't want it to be like strictly test hands of how consistent anything is. I want it to be more so to teach. So I will see you guys in just a moment. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of test hands here and just showcase just exactly how this deck works. That way you guys can get a better idea. I've also shuffled the extra deck up because of Extravagance. I'll shuffle it again. If we see Extravagance, then cool, that's nice. Let me just shuffle this a couple more times too. Give it some cuts. I'm looking through the camera, so if I miss shuffling, that's completely on me. But give that a good mix. Go ahead and get 5 cards, and we have let's see, we have Lopter and Mardell, which we don't want to draw the Mardell most of the time, but this isn't a bad hand, so we can do the Servant, sending an Ash Dragon and grabbing the Ecclesia right there. I'm gonna angle that a little bit, that way it's not getting all that glare on it. So we now have the Ecclesia. Can normal summon the Ecclesia, get the search, which we will be grabbing a punishment, of course. Then we can activate a boss stage and basically set the punishment and the prison. So these are going to be face down. Our opponent's turn comes around. When it does, the boss stage triggers. We get to summon a Har, and then after the Har is summoned, boss stage will trigger again, and we will get 3 tokens that are all played in attack position. That's just how the wording is, so you have to put them in attack position. So basically what we have here is we have an interruption through Har by attributing 2 tokens. We have 2 technical interruptions with punishment by sending the Entis here, which is pretty cool because you get 2 pops off of it. And then we also have the Ice Dragon's Prison to banish cards on our opponent's field. So something simple as that does result in a technical... So it is 3 cards that are being activated to interrupt, in that of the punishment, the Har, and the Ice Dragon's Prison, but it's technically 4 interruptions as well because the Entis also activates. So it's 3 to 4 interruptions, however you want to word it. I'm not going to get technical about it. Whatever you consider it is what you consider it. But that is the first test hand. We will go ahead and hop on to another one. Let me go ahead and shuffle all this up here. Toss these right back on there. Move our counter token thingies out of the way. We'll go ahead and shuffle this up. Couple cuts here. Sweet. And 5 more cards. Here we come. Not a terrible hand. Not a great hand. We start with the Extravagance. I'm going to shuffle this again. Give that a good mix. And we'll get rid of 6 cards, just like that. Let's draw 2. There's an Ecclesia and a Veiler. We'll go ahead and toss the Extrav in there. We banished, not terribly, not great. Kind of 50-50. We still have a Calamities left, which is kind of cool. But from here, we have the option of doing one of two things. We could either summon the Ecclesia, which technically seems okay, but I don't want to do that because we already have the punishment. So the Ecclesia actually isn't that good in this situation. Normally it would be, but in this situation, we actually do normal summon the Lopter. We use the effect, which we tribute to summon out, if I could find it, our Mardell. Mardell then triggers, which will search boss stage for us. So that's why we didn't want to summon the Ecclesia, because we already have the punishment and we want a boss stage. That's very, very significant to our line of play. We then activate the boss stage. We can then set 3 trap cards in that of 2 imperm and 1 punishment. And basically from here, we pass our turn. So when our opponent draws, we get to summon a Har from deck. Right there. Now that the Har is not... So you can summon the Har. I think the Har is the best play. You have an option to summon other cards, but the Har is probably the better of the lines. So we then get our 3 tokens out onto the field. So essentially what we're going to have happen here, we have 1 interruption through Har. We have another 1 to 2 interruptions through punishment, depending on how you look at it. We have, so we'll consider that to be 1 interruption. We won't consider the Entes. We'll consider the Entes be part of the punishment, just for video's sake. Not saying that it's one way or the other. But we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the Veiler is 5 interruptions that we currently have. Pretty good, not gonna lie. Like that's very, very solid, being able to put up interruptions like that, and not having the ability to be Nibiru because of it either. That's really important. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more test hand for you guys so you can see how I play this deck and what the typical thought process is with each turn. Basically, if you can get to a punishment and a boss stage, that's kind of a golden play, because that's technically disrupting 3 cards on your opponent's field, which is pretty nuts. All right, so here's the last 5 cards for the test hands for the video. We have not a terrible hand. This isn't too bad so far. So we start off with the Extravagance, obviously, kind of have to. This gets mixed up. Go ahead and get rid of 6 cards here. We'll draw 2. There's another boss stage and an Ecclesia. The Ecclesia is definitely helpful. We banished 2 Entes and an Ash, which doesn't hurt. The Zeus and the Calamities don't really hurt that badly either. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon the Ecclesia, getting the effect. We will search for, oh, I see it right there, a punishment. Go ahead and mix that up a little bit. Activate the boss stage, and then we would set the punishment and the trap trick in our spell and trap zone. Pass our turn. When our opponent draws, the boss stage will trigger. We get to summon, let's see, there's our boy Har. Then we get our 3 tokens out, which is also pretty sweet. 3 tokens come out, so we have 1 interruption from Har. There's number 2 from Veiler, 3 from boss stage, or 3 from punishment, and we can use trap trick to, at that point, we have the option of either getting an imperm or an Ice Dragon's Prison. I'm going to go with the Ice Dragon's Prison because it eliminates cards from our opponent's line of play. So we do the trap trick, and then we would have 2 banishes from our opponent. So 4 to 5 interruptions, which is really crazy. The deck just functions really, really well for what it does. It's nothing extravagant. No joke, because we play Extravagance, by the way. But it's nothing that's overly complex. It's a very simple deck to play. It's more so learning how and when to interrupt your opponent. And that's kind of what I really like about it. Overall, very, very fun deck. Super excited to show this one, honestly. That's why I had to do a longer video on it. I just felt like it was fully necessary, considering I'm really enjoying it. But I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And for right now, this is Team Yugi Fails signing out.